Is the Sassmaster getting on your nerves? Are you tired of hearing him complain that you can't seem to complete a single Ritual 2.0? Well, if that happens to be the case, fear not, because you are definitely not alone. I have been getting a ton of feedback that people are having issues with ultimatums, that they seem like they're massively overtuned, they can't seem to kill any of the monsters, and they just keep dying. However, I do have a few tips that'll help you too become a master of ultimatums, and with these few tips, you should have a significantly easier time dealing with this mechanic. So let's get into it. Hey guys, Big Ducks here, and welcome back to the channel. Now remember, if you're enjoying this style of content, make sure that you like this video so that YouTube knows to recommend you more of it. Also, over 75% of you are still not subscribed to this YouTube channel, so if you're enjoying my particular style of content, make sure that you subscribe so that these videos will show right up in your feed, and you can always change your mind later. Now without further ado, let's get into the guide. Alright boys, if you have been suffering an ultimatum, you are definitely not alone. I have been getting a ton of feedback over at my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/bigducks, which you should go follow by the way. Ultimatums are just too hard. Ultimatums are too difficult, I'm dying, I can't seem to clear even wave 1, what's going on? Well, there's a couple things that you're going to need to know to be able to successfully complete these ultimatums. Now, in the essence of time, we are going to be heading to the quarry just because I need to re-roll this place a couple different times. We'll do one in a map here in a moment. But I do want to show you one particular style of ultimatum, and that is going to be the main one that I think a lot of people are having issues with, and then we'll talk about the generic stuff over in an actual map. Alright, so here we are. It only took me like 8 tries to get this to proc. Stand in the stone circles. Now, we'll talk more about the ground effects and all that kind of other good stuff here in just a moment, but the one thing that a lot of people seem to be having issues with is this stone circle one. Now, the tip that I want to give you with this, if you're having issues with the stone circle one, is that you do not need to stand in this stone circle the entire time. You can stand in it for a little bit and then walk towards the other one. Now, one of the main things that we're going to be going over later is that kiting is going to be one of the best things that you can possibly do in Ultimatum. So, you can simply run in a circle, stand in this little stone circle for a little bit of time, and then move on to the next one. You don't have to stand in it and stay in it until it's done. You can just stand in it, move over, go jump in the next one, stay in it until you don't feel safe, and then move into the next one. That is going to be the main way to deal with these. I know a lot of people have been having issues with specifically the stand in the stone circle one. I know I did have issues with it at first as well, but if you do learn that you can just move around and you don't have to stay still in that one, it becomes significantly easier. Now, while we're here, there are two things that I do want to talk about. The one and first most important thing that I feel about Ultimatum is that choosing multiple options is the worst option. You, on average, should really be choosing the same option and stacking up the same option over and over and over and over again. So the idea being is that it seems like the stacked up modifiers are significantly less dangerous than dealing with, say, 3 separate modifiers at the same time. So as you're getting up towards these like 9 or 10 stack ultimatums, instead of having like 7 or 8 mechanics going at the same time, you could just have 3, and that makes it significantly easier. Also, the other thing to note is that these ones that give you ground effects, like the choking miasma, things that put stuff on the ground, tend to be significantly easier than all of the other ones. If you see this one with the choking vapors, the miasma one, it moves insanely slow. That's it over there. And do you see how slowly it's moving towards me? I mean, like, this is almost one of the easiest ones in the entirety of the whole mechanic. This miasma one is the one that you should choose every single time if you see it, because it is absolutely useless. Even at the 3rd level, it does not move that fast whatsoever. So the ground effects tend to be significantly less dangerous than most of the other ones, and I suggest that you try choosing mainly ground effects over everything else. So with that in mind, we are going to go jump into an actual map that is real content so you can see what it's like to deal with a full ultimatum, so let's get into that now. What I'm going to show you here is how I would go about a normal ultimatum and the strategies that you can use to stay significantly safer. And what you may not realize is that the main mechanic that makes ultimatums easier is kiting. Movement speed is very important and recovery is very important. So, as I said before, we are going to choose the choking miasma because it is by far the easiest one. This is a ground effect. You really do kind of want to stay away from these totems and some other things that are in here that hopefully we'll see as we go through this. But ground effects tend to be significantly easier than anything else in here. Now, this is just a random tier 5 map. I don't know if you guys have been having the same problem, but I have been having a lot of problems with map sustain. I haven't been able to play as much as I would like because the first day, we had some launch problems and things like that. Early on, and as long as you do enough damage, you shouldn't have too many issues. But as you get deeper into this, we're going to choose Choking Miasma 2 here, you'll start to notice that you have to kite more. And depending on what enemy type that you get, you're going to have to kite more and more. Now, you might have noticed that the monkeys are like extremely dangerous and they stack up all kinds of debuffs on you. The monkeys end up being one of the more dangerous enemy types, I feel, just because they have so many debuffs and they stack and stack and stack and stack like insane amounts of them. And those tend to be a lot more annoying. But as you can see, I'm on the third wave of the ultimatum with this choking miasma, and you can kind of see it there. It's pretty much useless. Like, I don't have to worry about this miasma at all. I am 100% focused on the enemies right now and completely ignoring that miasma because I know that I don't really have to worry about it at all. So what we're going to mainly be focusing on here is choosing ground effects or things that chase you. Ruin is another one that is actually pretty easy. I do suggest that Ruin, as long as you are moving and using the strategy that I talk about where you kite and you run in circles, you shouldn't have too many issues with it either. Because the little spirit that's going to be chasing you really won't be able to catch up if you're consistently moving like this. Another thing is that Corrupting Blood is now very dangerous for the most part, it seems. I don't have a Bleed Flask because I haven't really found any Einhard beasts, but Corrupting Blood does seem to be significantly more dangerous, especially while leveling. However, you can kind of see that as long as you do keep moving, you shouldn't have too big of an issue with just kiting these enemies around. Now, there's a lot of them, but as you notice, as you move around in a circle, just going in a giant big circle, you can kind of just slowly deplete them as they chase you around and you don't have to worry about too much. We're going to go for more ground effects here. This is Restless Ground. This just slows you. You can get a gem and corrupt a gem and it'll make you immune to Hinder, which makes this mechanic basically worthless. Hinder also does help you with a couple of the other rare modifiers that can spawn that slow you down. Typically, being slowed is one of the most dangerous things in here, so if you can avoid that, that's very good. Now, you'll also see that there's things like using a flask hinders you by 50% for 4 seconds. Things having to do with flasks seem to be one of the most dangerous ones out of the entire bunch. You can actually get stack 2 of Ruin here, but because I am planning on pushing much more further into it, I do want to try to get the good ones when they do pop up. So although I am getting a third mechanic here, and normally you would want to just stack the same ones, if you see a very, very easy mechanic, you should go ahead and grab it so that you don't lose it later on or it doesn't offer it to you later. Because mechanics that you seem to choose tend to be offered to you much more often, so it should be a lot easier if, say, you see Choking Miasma and you see Restless Ground, I would grab the easier one, the one that you want more of, first, and then grab the other ones later. Because as you can see now, it's offering us both Ruin and Restless Ground. Now, I'm going to grab Ruin because it doesn't matter as much, but we have like locked in Restless Ground now for ourselves. So that's basically the main playstyle here, is just kiting in circles, making sure that you try to keep the enemies behind you, having good movement speed, and having good recovery. I've been playing the BFBB Inquisitor, and I haven't been having too many issues whatsoever. If you have been having issues with that build, make sure that you look forward to a build guide update that is coming soon, but I will be making a video about that. The POV is updated, however, so you can go check that out. Now let's talk a little bit about rewards, because I know some people are having issues like choosing whether or not they should continue. What I personally say, currency rewards seem to be the main moneymaker. Now, normally, when you're doing these kinds of mechanics, they do give you lots of small currency. However, I don't think I've ever seen a mechanic that gives you more just raw chaos than this one, ever. I've gotten like 50 to 70 chaos just running these ultimatums and maps. It'll just pop 4 chaos into the window sometimes, and you're just good. So what I suggest is that if you're worried about not being able to complete it, push until you get like at least something worth a few chaos and then cut it right there. However, generally on the very last reward that it gives you is a significantly better reward most of the time. Like, I got a 6-link that I sold for about 40 chaos yesterday. I've gotten like a bunch of 5-link 6-socket uniques. There's been lots of stuff like that in the final reward. So that is one thing that you can look forward to. But if we go ahead and finish here, you'll see that as you go deeper into these ultimatums, you're going to start getting more of the mechanic. And I do want to talk a little bit about the other styles of ultimatums that some people may be wondering about. There are a few different kinds of ultimatums. This Stand in the Stone Circle one, there's one where you have to survive, and then there is one where you have to protect the totem. There's another one where you just kill enemies, but I think people understand that you kill the enemies. Protecting the totem one is interesting. If you've seen that second life bar that pops up in the middle of the ultimatum, you might have been wondering, like, what is this second life bar? I have no idea what's going on with it. Is it like another timer? Is it something like that? No, it's actually this totem in the middle here. You have to protect it. As you can see, as long as you start following those kinds of things, you work on recovery for your build. Dodge is also very good for this. You can actually get through these relatively easily. However, that one where it's protect the totem in the middle, is honestly one of the easiest ones, I think. A lot of people seem to be having problems with it, but what I've found is that when you get to protect the totem in the middle ultimatum, the enemies seem to just kind of ignore you and attack that totem, and you have plenty of time to just kill them. You'll notice there's going to be like little small enemies spawning throughout there, like there's going to be rare monsters that are channeling something. Make sure that you kill those first. Those seem to be relatively easy. That is most of the main points that you need to know about Ultimatum. The TLDR being run in circles, choose ground effects, and stack up the same effects over and over and over again so that you have less total things that you need to deal with. Because if you start dealing with like fire spitters and cold and like those totems that they can spawn and the ground effects and like take more damage, and you start stacking up a whole bunch of those, you're really gonna have a much harder time than just stacking like 3 miasmas and 3 restless grounds and 3 of the ruin guys. Those tend to be way easier than all of those other little tiny ones. I would say that like a tier 3 miasma is easier than most tier 1s of everything else. Legitimately, I feel that it's just a worthless mechanic that doesn't do anything to you. So make sure that you check those out. And that is going to be it for the video. So hopefully this video was able to help you. If you have any more questions beyond what I've answered in this video, make sure that you check out my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/bigducks. I'm live Monday through Friday, and I might be able to answer your question over there. If not, make sure to join my Discord. It is linked down in the description. There are a ton of helpful community members over there that might be able to answer your question, and I hope that you stay and become a part of my community. We've been growing pretty strong, and I'd really love to have you. So remember guys, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content similar to this, and stay safe out there in raid class. And I'll see you guys in the next video.